Now, I understand throughout history that a lot of times the NBA's Most Valuable Player award is given to the best player on the best team. It's just the way it seems to work more often than not, which would lead many to believe that the guy that is going to end up winning this year's NBA Most Valuable Player award is going to be Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors. And you could definitely make a very, very, very good case for him being the NBA's most valuable player. You're talking about a Warriors team that has been, one of the very best teams, the best team in the NBA pretty much all season long. Consistent, dominant, you name it. And Steph Curry is ultimately what makes that best team in the NBA go. He's had a great season. You can make a lot of strong arguments for him. Now, you also know the national sports media and those that buy into the propaganda that they pound out there are going to make a very strong push as well for LeBron James, because at the end of the day, it's LeBron James, and what better thing to do than to give LeBron James another MVP award that he may or may not have earned. Now, don't get me wrong, LeBron James has definitely shown his worth and his value to the Cleveland Cavaliers. You're talking about a team that has really started to click the second half of the season, going from that period of time where LeBron was out. You saw just how much he meant to the Cleveland Cavaliers and that organization. He ultimately comes back, saves Dave Blatt's job. Now, we're not talking about his job anymore, and we're talking about a Cleveland Cavaliers team that is probably right now the favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference, even though Atlanta has the best record in the East. However, with that said, to me, I don't think Curry or LeBron are this year's NBA Most Valuable Player. Frankly, I don't even think it's close, my opinion. To me, the runaway, slam dunk, unanimous choice, in my mind at least, for this year's NBA Most Valuable Player has to be James Harden of the Houston Rockets. When you look at the season that the Houston Rockets have had, in particular that James Harden has had, I don't even really see where you can make a strong argument for LeBron compared to James Harden. I'm not even sure you can make a compelling argument for Steph Curry compared to James Harden. Let's look at what James Harden has done this year. He has led the Houston Rockets to, at the time of this recording, the third best record in the NBA. The third best record in the NBA. And all of that has happened this year, mind you, with losing Chandler Parsons in the offseason, their number 3 scorer from the season before, and without having Dwight Howard for several weeks of the season at a key stretch of time. Now, some might argue that sometimes your team is better without Dwight Howard than it is with Dwight Howard, but the bottom line is this is your team's second best player, your so-called alleged dominant big man, your defensive force down the middle, the guy that is supposed to take some of that scoring burden off of James Harden. And for several weeks, he didn't have him. He hasn't had Chandler Parsons all year. The Rockets have dealt with other injuries. For Christ's sakes, they had to go to the scrap heap and trade for guys like Corey Brewer and bring in guys like Josh Smith. You look at the supporting cast that the Houston Rockets have around James Harden, guys like Trevor Ariza, Corey Brewer, Joey Dorsey. Josh Smith, Jason Terry, 37-year-old Jason Terry, Matajunas. This isn't exactly a who's who of great NBA players and great NBA, frankly, even role players. You look at LeBron, he's got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and Mozgov and so on and so forth. You look at the freaking Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry has Klay Thompson, he has Harrison Barnes, and he has Draymond Green. He can go on and on and on. The supporting casts around both Steph Curry and LeBron James are unanimously far superior to what James Harden has around him with the Houston Rockets. Now, you could say part of that is because Steph Curry makes those others around him better, and that definitely is true. You could also say that LeBron James' supporting cast is better because he helps make them better, and that most certainly is true in the case of LeBron. But you could also make a very strong argument this year that the supporting cast around the Houston Rockets top player in James Harden are playing above themselves and playing much better than one would anticipate because James Harden is making them better. You look at a guy that has taken a team on his back this year in the NBA. Nobody has done that more than James Harden. Some of you might argue Russell Westbrook, but I don't buy into all that crap. To me, it's got to be James Harden. When you look at this guy, the second leading scorer in the league at the time of this recording, he almost has the same amount of rebounds per game as LeBron does, almost the same number of assists as LeBron does, frankly, more steals per game. Not quite the field goal shooter he is, but a superior three-point shooter, and doing it a much larger volume and a much better free throw shooter. You know, when you look at it, too, think about the opportunities that are created and opened up for a LeBron or a Curry with the supporting cast that they have around him. James Harden doesn't have that type of help. This is a guy that night in, night out knows that he has to be the man and he has to deliver for his team to have any shot in the world of winning the damn game. Because the truth of the matter is, the team's not that talented, and frankly, they're incredibly reliant upon the three. They're really not all that good, but you couldn't tell that based off of the way the Houston Rockets have played this year. You couldn't tell that based off of their record, their current standings in the Western Conference. You're talking about a Rockets team that could be the 2 or 3 seed when all is said and done. They might end up being the damn 2 seed in the West. You could talk about Steph Curry and his team having the best record in the West, and, you know, Curry's the best player on the best team. You can make an argument. But when you look at LeBron, his team doesn't even have the best record in the Eastern Conference, the weak-ass, bum-ass Eastern Conference, whereas James Harden's team has the second best record in the Western Conference and the third best record right now in the NBA. When you look at what LeBron has had around him and what Steph Curry has had around him, and compare that to what James Harden has had around him and what you've seen out of the Houston Rockets this year in their performance and what James Harden has done with his performance to help his team get to that performance, I think it's a slam dunk case. I think James Harden has to be the NBA's most valuable player. I don't even see where it's close. Now, at the end of the day, is he going to win the MVP award? Probably not. It's probably going to go to Steph Curry, or if there's enough media outcry late this last week or two of the season, it's going to go to LeBron, but probably will end up with Curry, and that's a shame. Because to me, the MVP should not be a popularity contest. It should not just automatically go to the guy that's the best player on the best team or the guy with the biggest name. It should go to the guy who has been the most valuable for his team, the most valuable player to his team in the entire league. And as a result, I personally think that for the 2014-2015 season, that is slam dunk, no doubt about it. Easily got to be James Harden of the Houston Rockets. He's had an incredible season. His team has had an incredible season in spite of some of the adversity that they faced and the challenges they've had to overcome. They have a chance to potentially make it to the NBA Finals, and that's all due, in large part, in my opinion, to the play of James Harden, who is this year's most valuable player in the NBA. No question in my mind.